might be noticing a trend that I enjoy 1911s that look very similar, and this really is just me finding what I like out of the platform. In the previous video, I talked about the Tisas Tank Commander that I had, and mentioned that I liked this gun enough that I wanted to buy another Tisas. And well, the gun in front of you is the culmination of that. This here is a Tisas Stakeout. This is a standard government model 45, so a 5-inch gun. However, this gun is kind of everything I'd want and nothing that I don't out of a 45 caliber 1911. So these guns run about 400 bucks, give or take, and I've modified it, but this gun's less modified than the Tank Commander was. So what do you get when you buy one of these? Well, you're getting a 1911, made in Turkey or Turkey by Tisas. This is a gun that's mostly made using billet parts, or you might notice a machined part made from bar stock steel. This is a gun that comes with a little bit larger GI-style manual safety, which is not the one here. Comes with a ring hammer, comes with a beaver tail. These guns ship with these nice tall sights, so a tall serrated rear, and a brass bead front sight, which I like for high visibility. The barrel is hard chromed, and then the entire gun's nitrided. So if you hear nitriding as a type of metal treatment, effectively we have got a gun that's going to be very hard to rust, and it's physically a harder material, which does make it harder to work on if you wanted to start grinding on the frame or something. But for the average person, this is going to be a gun that's going to require, I don't want to say less maintenance, but it's going to be a little bit better in adverse elements. We also have this sound. I'm going to get it close to the microphone. I don't know if that's coming through, that little like squeegee sound. It's almost Glocky, because Glock uses Tenifer, which is just their proprietary blend of nitriding. So why did I go for this Tisas Stakeout here? Well, truth be told, I do like a good 5-inch 45 1911. I think it's a classic style. When it comes to shooting 45, anything shorter than this I find is just a little bit unpleasant in a 1911. But what I liked is that the gun came with really good sights out of box. It came with a great finish, and it wouldn't require as much work to add the components that I really like to the gun. So what have I done? Well, I actually haven't done anything at all to the top end of the gun. The sights are factory, the barrel's factory, the barrel bushing, the recoil spring, we haven't monkeyed with that. And this one came with a titanium firing pin, and there's already an extra power firing pin spring in there. We actually compared it to the Wilson ones we had, and it's the same spring. Not the exact same spring, but the same weight spring, so I'm not concerned about that. The ring hammer, totally fine in my book, out of box, up to the way it was. Grip safety is the factory one. We did fit a Wilson, they call it the tactical manual safety. It's a little bit, compared to the one I have here on the Stakeout, the paddle's not nearly as big or as wide. I kind of like this more as a carry option, but also it's a little bit more of a classic look. Still very, very positive. I'll bring that up here. Nice and clicky. We did swap out the detent here to be one of the Wilson ones to work better with the spring. We did fit an arch mainspring housing on the gun through here. Again, I'm a weird godless heathen who likes the arch mainspring housing. A lot of people like the back of the gun to be flat, because that's kind of how the trend's been the last 30 or 40 years. But for me, as someone who shoots Glocks, I've gotten used to that hump on the back of the gun, and I honestly just prefer it on the 1911. We did melt the edges here, so it'd be nice and comfy on the sides. And one of the annoying things is that it was kind of hard to find a Tisas arch mainspring housing. We knew that the Tisas ones would require less fitting to get in the frame. The one we bought came with a lanyard loop, so we actually chopped that off. And it was one that, it was either Cerakoted or Parkerized, but that finish came off pretty quickly. And yeah, the fit's really nice. We did throw in a Harrison longer trigger. Again, you'll see a trend here. I have the Harrison trigger in all of my guns. I really do like how it feels. The trigger itself, can modify the weight of the trigger pull, but it's more so that the feel is just really good. I like a nice smooth trigger. I'm not a fan of serrated trigger. The longer trigger plus the arch mainspring housing does lead to a little bit more trigger reach, but for me, I find that it just works really, really well. The grips on this gun are Harrods, again, just like the Tank Commander, and the same amount of grip tape here, skateboard deck tape, to give you more traction. This gun came in the day of my car accident last month, so I haven't actually been able to shoot it yet. So I'm not going to be like, oh, it's a fantastic pistol, because I haven't shot it yet. But talking build quality, the thing's made as well as the Tank Commander is. But it's more feature-rich than a lot of guns that will cost twice as much or 3 times as much money as this gun. I've seen people compare this to like a Springfield mil-spec, but we're getting better sights than that. We're getting a better finish than that. We're getting a better finish on the barrel. And then the gun's already coming with features that are nicer, like the extended beaver tail, the safety that was a little bit larger. It came with a longer trigger out of box, which was good, but the Harrison trigger is what I like, so I went for it. The guns ship with the Tisas magazines, but for the 45s, I'm using the Wilson Combat ones, whether they're the 47Ds or I'm primarily using the 500s just because they tend to hold up better for getting ditched and dropped in the dirt. So yeah, Tisas Stakeout. It's a fairly new gun. I will tell you that one thing that Tisas is really terrible with is marketing. If you look at their website and look up the Tisas Stakeout, you're going to see older guns that have smaller sights and say Stakeout on the side. This gun, as you can see, is lacking any sort of roll marks on the slide. We have the Tisas Knoxville, Tennessee, and then the serial number. And then we have the general 1911 blurb here on the bottom, the Zig M1911 Turquia. But yeah, this is a gun that I'm planning on shooting a fair bit. I'm sitting on a lot of 45. I've got, God goodness, probably close to 3,000 rounds of 45 here at the house right now. And we're getting into reloading, which means that brass is going to last a long time. But I'm really looking forward to shooting this gun. You know, maybe it'll have issues that'll arise when we start shooting it, but, you know, so far, just monkeying with it, the thing's really, really well made. Compared to the Tank Commander, they're both quality guns, but between the nitriding, the hard chrome finish on the barrel, just the general fit and finish, this gun's really well put together. The only thing I'm not a huge fan of is the radius here on the back of the frame. It is a proprietary radius, which doesn't matter until you say, hey, I want to try to find another beaver tail for this gun, because this one's not bad, but I want to have a certain look. So I bought a beaver tail from KC Custom Creations. He's a gentleman who has done a lot of custom guns, but he specifically worked a lot with making the Marine Corps BUSOC guns. So I bought one of his grip safeties. Fantastic quality. I spoke with him on the phone, and he was a wonderful person to work with. It just didn't happen to fit on here. And since the frame's nitrided, I can't realistically cut on this easily because it would just destroy my tools. Which is interesting because if you go online and look, people will tell you that this radius is a 220 style radius, like 0.220 inches radius. And it ain't. The holes don't line up. That radius isn't that. It's proprietary. So what that was is that I should have done more research and actually mic'd this myself rather than relying upon what folks online were saying. But it's also just interesting to see that Tisas is not just, copying something else and then saying, okay, this is what we copied. It's like, okay, they're actually doing their own thing. So just a word to the wise. If you buy one of these, that radius is not whatever people online will tell you it is. So, yeah. But the Tisas Stakeout, we have a no-frills 45 that we've added a couple of parts on, but generally speaking, it's kind of got everything you need, nothing you don't. I wouldn't mind an optic on here at some point down the line, but we'll see. With the brass bead front and that serrated rear, I want to shoot this for a bit with how it is because this was the old setup I used to use on my iron-sighted guns back in the era before optics got popular. Back when I was a HK guy and I was shooting a P30L, when I was shooting a P30L, I had basically the same setup with a Wilson Combat front with a gold bead, but it was really brass. You just called it a gold bead, and then a serrated blacked out rear. So I'm really interested to try this gun out. So I'll be doing some more 1911 stuff here in the future. I am recovered enough to start shooting again pretty soon, so you'll be seeing more of the drill footage there. But I am planning on doing quite a bit of shooting here with the Stakeout. So thanks for watching.